Let's face it, there are few books as classic as Mark Twain's Tom Sawyer. Originally written in 1876, the book follows a boy in Missouri being a boy in Missouri. That's basically it. It's a very popular classic novel, although personally I prefer its sequel, Huck Finn. Like just about every book from that era, it has tens of thousands of adaptations. Of course I'm exaggerating, stop typing. So whether they be live action, hand-drawn animation, or claymation, they all want to try and stand out, to be that one definitive adaptation. Like all those Christmas Carol adaptations. There's so many out there, so why are they gonna try and watch yours when they can watch the other ones? You need something that's gonna help you stand out. And that brings us directly to the subject of today's review, 2000's animated feature, Tom Sawyer. Brought to you by MGM Animation, the long-defunct animation studio that brought you the All Dogs Go to Heaven sequels, and The Secret of NIMH 2. Oh no, this is gonna hurt. Tom Sawyer was the final film that this animation studio made, because after this film, the creators of the studio left, and they haven't been able to get work ever since. At the time of release, Tom Sawyer was met with very polarizing reviews. Some people absolutely loved it, and some people absolutely hated it. Few, if any, people offered middle ground. And let me tell you firsthand that I can 100% understand why it got this reaction. Tom Sawyer is perhaps the most conflicting film I have ever seen in my life. For every good thing it has going for it, it has something bad going against it. So let's take a look at why 2000's Tom Sawyer is the ultimate mixed bag. First of all, look at the cast this film has. Rhett Akins, Mark Willis, Betty White, Hynden Walsh, Hank Williams Jr., Kevin Michael Richardson, Don Knotts, Waylon Jennings, D. Bradley Baker, and Charlie Daniels. How did a rinky-dink direct-to-video film get all these guys? Well, that's precisely it. MGM Animation wanted this to be their big hit. The thing that would finally get them all the respect they ever wanted, after losing a lot of it when Secret of NIMH 2 came out. Tom Sawyer 2000 was actually supposed to be a theatrical release, but then things fell through, I guess. I can't really find a definitive answer, but it got released direct-to-video. As expected, all these actors do great jobs with their roles. Although, I do think Hynden Walsh is a bit miscast as Becky. She doesn't do a bad job per se, it's just not her best role. This certainly isn't Starfire, let's just say that. And if you look at the cast list, you might find something funny. Over half of these people are country music singers. And yeah, that's exactly right. Because this film is a musical and set in the South, the filmmakers thought it best to have country music singers take up a large portion of the roles. And surprisingly, they do good jobs. There's a big risk in the movie industry when you cast singers to be your characters. You know they can sing, but can they act? Sometimes the answer is no, sometimes the answer is really no, but every so often you'll find a yes. And this is the yes. These guys do great jobs with their roles. But here's a big caveat. While the adult actors are perfectly cast in their roles, why are the likes of Rhett Akins and Mark Willis playing Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn? They do not sound like children. They sound like 28-year-olds or something at best. Don't get me wrong, they do really good jobs with their performances. Great emotion and spot-on delivery. It's just that, well, it's distracting. It feels like I'm watching a bunch of adults pretending to be children rather than actual children. But again, they were cast for their singing, and the songs are very well done. I'm a country music guy. You kinda have to be where I live. The soundtrack is fantastic, very well sung and unbelievably catchy, but it's extremely corny. Like the whole states of Iowa and Nebraska put together cannot match the corniness of the Tom Sawyer soundtrack. The Best Friends song, the duet between Becky and Amy, or Light at the End of the Tunnel, aw man. Break out the cheese, folks, we're going to Wisconsin. It's not like the film isn't without melodrama already, especially with the big focus on relationships it has, but the songs really amp it up to 11 to the point where it can be a bit much most of the time. What helps is that the songs are very well done, but again, again, they only serve to pump up the drama. And that's another big thing about this film. It's an adaptation of a beloved novel. And you know me, I'm a very big judge when it comes to adaptations. Either you're a good adaptation, or you use the original source as your springboard to do a completely different story, or you're a bad adaptation. And I must say, Tom Sawyer is for the most part a good adaptation. It does remove some of the aspects of the original novel, after all that thing is huge. It would not fit into a movie of this time length. It also has to clean some of it up, because the novel is not really for children. This movie is. I'm not the kind of guy that says animation's always for kids, but let's face it folks, this film is definitely geared more towards children. These are the people that made Secret of NIMH 2 after all. You know, taking a very big, cinematic, pretty adult animated film by Don Bluth and turning it into, well, this.
You wanna relax? Then take what you please. There's candy galore and it's all made of cheese. Wherever you look, another surprise. Just stick around, you won't believe your eyes.
They don't entirely shy away from the dark stuff though. The villain is just as menacing and threatening as he is in the book. There is a character that dies, although he is a different character this time. He's Deputy Bean instead of the Doctor, but he serves the same role. So I bet you're all expecting me to say that this is a stellar and surprisingly loyal adaptation of Tom Sawyer for children, huh? Not really. Well, yes, as a story, it's definitely loyal. It is most certainly shallow. What do I mean by that? It's extremely simplified and unbelievably sugar-coated. Part of that is because of the bigger focus on relationship drama. Yeah, Tom's love life got a bit of focus in the original book, but that wasn't the whole point of it. In this film, his love triangle with Amy and Becky basically drives the story. You can't escape it. Even when Tom and Huck are doing their own thing or going on their adventures like they do in the book, it always somehow has to go back to, does Tom like Amy or Becky? Essentially, the love plots take over the entire movie. And like I said, that's the weakest part of the movie because that's where all the sugary sweet simplification comes in. Rather than focus on more of the details from the book or, you know, challenging kids by showing more of the dark stuff, we get more mushy, gushy, preteen drama. I say preteen very loosely, because again, there's no way these guys are kids. But on the whole, I'd say it's loyal enough. Not too loyal to the point where I can give it extra points, but it's right on the threshold. So it passes, but just barely. Now let's take a look at the animation. This is perhaps the most divisive part in the entire movie. From the day this film was first released, there's been an ongoing war as to whether or not the animation in this film is good or terrible. Well, I'm here to say it's both, but at different times. This film was not made in-house. It was outsourced to Taiwan, and some parts look really well done, almost like a theatrically animated film, which again is what Tom Sawyer 2000 originally wanted to be. But then other times we get this. What is this? This does not look like this. That's a big problem with the film. I could understand if it had bad animation, but when it has good animation half the time and bad animation the other half of the time, it's really jarring. It's like The Thief and the Cobbler. The Miramax version, that is, not the real recobbled version. Sometimes there's the fantastic, breathtaking animation done by Richard Williams, and then bam, this cheap overseas stuff. Sometimes it's not that noticeable, but then other times it's extremely jarring and can serve to take you out of the moment. Though it must be said, the animation during the songs is always the best part. This is where the animators decided to have all their fun, rather than the other parts where they're kind of standing or walking and talking and other stuff like that. Also, I hate to be that guy, but I have to ask this. Why are they animals? It doesn't serve the story in any way. Is it because they wanted to stand out from all the other Tom Sawyer adaptations? Is it because animals are easier to draw, or— oh, I think I get it. Remember how I said this film was trying to pander to kids a lot of the time? Like how it gives everybody a happy ending and it tones down a lot of the dark elements from the book? Yeah, I think that's why they're animals in this story. Kids love animals! Especially funny, silly, wacky, talking animals! I expect nothing less from the people that made all these films. Well done, guys. So, in summation, do I like Tom Sawyer 2000? Yes. Does it have flaws? Absolutely. Is it a perfect film? Not in any semblance of the term. Still, I have a soft spot for it. It was a family-friendly adaptation of Tom Sawyer. There was no need for them to go this far with it. If they slapped the name Tom Sawyer on there, I'm sure it would have sold well, but I guess they learned their lesson from Secret of NIMH 2 because they went above and beyond most of the time. They didn't need to have this great level of acting talent. They didn't need to have good animation at times, and they certainly didn't need to have these catchy songs. But you know what? They did it anyways, and it makes the film worth watching for me. Maybe it's because I'm a country music fan, but I always have a soft spot for the soundtrack, and you know what? The soundtrack is one of the biggest parts of this film. It's very important, it wouldn't be the same without it. And again, even if some of the actors are a bit miscast or out of place, they still do good jobs. Yeah, the film is hokey and clunky at times, and it's far, far from perfect, but I personally enjoy it. However, it's one of those films where I can totally understand if someone else doesn't. These issues that I brought up are definitely make or break for a lot of folks, and you know what? I guess I'm just one of those people that sees this thing as more good than bad. If you ever want to give it a shot, go right ahead. It's free on YouTube. As far as I'm aware, I don't know if it's been taken down at the time of this posting, but you know what? I'd say it's worth looking for. At least to give it one chance. It puts so much effort into itself. That's the least we can do for it. Well, folks, thanks for watching the video. Have you seen Tom Sawyer 2000? What do you think of it? Do you think it has more cons than pros or more pros than cons? Comment below and let me know because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you all for watching and I'll see you guys next time.